Hello, students, and welcome to Math Weekly's number 13.
In this Math Weekly, our focus skill will be determining the y-intercept of a relationship. Let's begin with some background information about the y-intercept. In a relationship, the x value is the set of all inputs. The y value is the set of all outputs. So for example, if you had a job where you were babysitting children and earned $5 per hour, the number of hours that you work would be the input. The output would be the total amount of money that you earn. So by definition, a y-intercept is the situation in which x is 0. So in the case with babysitting, if the hours are 0, you would earn $0. So the y-intercept of that relationship would be 0. If you don't work any hours, you don't get paid any money. So to determine the y-intercept, it depends on what representation you're given, and we're going to look at 4 different representations. The first is a real-world situation. For a real-world situation, look for initial values, flat rate charges, base fees, supply costs, etc. Anything that gives you a starting value. If you're given a table of values, look for an ordered pair in which the x value is 0. For example, an ordered pair such as 0, 5. Not every ordered pair will contain the x value of 0, so sometimes it's necessary to extend the table of values to include an ordered pair in which the x value is 0. The third representation we're going to look at is a coordinate plane. If you are looking for the y-intercept on a coordinate plane, look for where the graph crosses the y-axis. Because the point on the y-axis is not left or right of the origin, that gives it an x value of 0. And fourth, if it is an equation, after getting the equation into slope-intercept form, like y equals mx plus b, look for the constant in the b's location. What is being added to what is constantly changing? That constant, that number that's being added or subtracted, is the y-intercept. So let's look at a real-world situation and look at an example. Remember, we're looking for initial values, flat rate charges, base fees, supply costs, anything that gives us an initial value, a starting piece. So here's an example. To rent a moving van, Carly will pay 20 cents per mile plus an initial rental fee of $100. So what is the y-intercept and what does it mean in context to Carly's problem? Sometimes it's easier to write an equation for this. So the total cost would be equal to 20 cents for every mile plus $100 extra for the initial rental fee. This $100 is an initial value or a starting value. That is known as the y-intercept. So the y-intercept is 100. 100 is the initial amount Carly must pay as a rental fee. Okay, let's look at our second representation, and that is a table of values. Remember, we're looking for the ordered pair in which the x value is 0. We may have to extend the table if it doesn't already include an x value of 0. So here's our situation. The table below shows the total amount of money Rochelle has in her savings account since she has started saving regularly during the last 5 months. What is the y-intercept and its meaning? Now, as you can see, the months are affecting the total in savings. So the months are the input and the savings total is the output. Or the total in the savings depends on how many months it's been since she started. Notice the x value, there are no zeros. So we're going to have to extend this to include 0. Notice that it's going up by 10 each month. So it went up $10 in 1 month. It went up another $10. It went up another $10. So if we want to go down from 1 to 0, we're going to have to take away $10. So that'll be 35. Remember, this table is showing the total amount of money that she has over certain months, and our task is to see what is the y-intercept and its meaning. So now we've extended this table to include an x value of 0, and the output was $35. Remember, 0 is how many months that she's been saving. So she hasn't been saving any months, but she still has $35 in her savings. So let's talk about what that means in context to a problem. The y-intercept is 35. 35 represents the amount of money Rochelle had in her account before she started saving. So let's look at our last type of representation, and that is a coordinate plane. Remember, look for where the graph crosses the y-axis. So here's our example. What does the y-intercept of the relationship below mean? And here's our graph. Notice it's about a laptop loan. On the x-axis, we have the number of weeks probably spent paying back the money. And on the y-axis, we have the amount of money owed in dollars. The y-intercept is found on the y-axis. So if we go up the y-axis until we find where the blue line touches, we see that it touches here at 1,000. So the y-intercept is 1,000, period. So in terms of the laptop loan and 0 weeks paying it back, that must be the amount of money borrowed. So $1,000 is the amount of money borrowed for the laptop loan. Let's look at our last type, if an equation. After getting the equation into slope-intercept form, which looks like y equals a number times x plus another number, look for the constant in the b's location. That constant is the y-intercept. So it says, example, Golden Gateway Gym charges customers a total cost, y, based on the number of months, x, that they are a customer, plus a one-time membership fee. The equation is y equals 20x plus 40. This represents the total cost, y, for a person to join the gym for x months. So what is the y-intercept and what does it mean in context of the problem? So remember, the y-intercept is always the added amount. So at the end, it's adding $40. That is the one-time membership fee. So the y-intercept is 40. $40 is the one-time membership fee that customers must pay. So let's summarize what we've learned. The y-intercept is the situation in which the x value is 0. How to determine the y-intercept depends on the type of representation you are given. And we learned that there are 4 representations, and we learned how to find the y-intercept in each of these. This is typed on your Math Weekly paper for your reference.